All right, welcome back to Faith, Frauds, and Falsehoods, where we explore various cults and religions of the world. Tonight, we're continuing our discussion on the Institute in Basic Life Principles. I can't even say it, Matt. I just can't, right? So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and help others find us.
Before we begin, let's make it very clear: the opinions that we present are ours alone, and do not represent the views or opinions of our respective churches or employers. Now let's begin.
Here we go. All right, notable events and controversies, Matt. That's where we are tonight.
Yes, I heavily alluded to it last episode.
Yeah, I had to stop you from going all the way into it because we're trying something different here, right? And we're shortening our episodes into multiples instead of just one big one. So
Yes.
it's hard for us to not just dive right into all of our notes all at the same time.
Yeah, because we want to just talk about it like we talk about everything. But what we're trying to do is pass this information to other people. So we're trying to give you two little shorter segments so you don't have to spend an hour watching a video.
Yep.
So notable events and controversies. There's the one big giant one.
There is. Yep.
Is in 2014, Bill Gothard was accused by multiple women, 34, of sexual harassment and molestation. And it started with a couple. And, this did kind of coincide with the whole Me Too movement. It's interesting how that Me Too thing has really, it's empowered people, it's empowered victims to step up and say things.
Yeah.
If you know what, I'm not the only one this has happened to. It is amazing to me in our society how many women have been abused.
Mm-hmm.
It's unfathomable.
Right.
And in this case right here, so he'd been going since the 60s. He'd been leading people in how to live a Christian life. These are good things. Okay? And we're going to go more into some of those teachings, but overall the concept is a good thing, right? To learn people to learn how to lead a better Christian life. But yet, as we always see happens over and over again, something bad happens because it got weird and sexual.
Yep. And I mean, we're not to our response yet, right? But as I'm bound to point out multiple times, right? Every cult eventually becomes a sex cult. It just happens, right? And so while we may or may not, define this group as a cult later on, there's something to this, right? That this started happening within this group with him teaching. That makes me wonder.
And we're going to go into the teachings about it. It was reinforced by their teachings of submission. Mm-hmm. He preyed on people who he had taught, most of them their entire lives, that they should be submissive to him.
Yep.
He had taught them their entire lives. And so a lot of his victims, he had actually, requested to come work at headquarters with him. It's amazing how a lot of them had very similar stories. He was literally molesting a girl in this room and then that room, and they didn't know each other. It was happening to each other.
Right.
There's cases where he molested sisters.
Allegedly. Right.
Allegedly.
I think we have to say allegedly. But
yes, because, as we'll mention, the lawsuit was filed. Mm-hmm. In 2016, it was dismissed. Well, they withdrew it actually in 2018. It was filed in 2016, but they withdrew it in 2018. And allegedly it was because there were some issues with the statute of limitations, and that some of the plaintiffs had potentially were saying, hey, we're going to pull out. We're not going to do this, because he actually threatened a countersuit. And he did not file that countersuit at that time. However, after they withdrew the lawsuit, he did file a lawsuit against them, not technically a countersuit, but it basically is, alleging that because they made allegations and it never followed through where he was ruled innocent or guilty, that they hurt his reputation. And he asked them to pay him hundreds of thousands of dollars for this. This is after he already resigned. He resigned back in 2014 when the allegations were made. Mm-hmm. But he was doing other things, like you mentioned, the university and stuff.
Right. Yep.
But he had already resigned, and his reputation had been hurt at this point, and so he filed a suit back against them. It wasn't until 2020 when that got resolved. And I believe it was 2020. And the victims were, I guess, exonerated. It was proven that they did not, I don't remember the right way to say this.
They weren't like maliciously suing him with nothing.
Right. So that implies that they had a valid reason.
Right.
That there was something valid about their allegations. And again, 34.
Yeah. If it was,
it's a little different if there's one or two.
3. Right. Yeah.
Right. But 34.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people have come out online. Not everybody that was in that lawsuit has come out publicly, and for understandable reasons.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of embarrassment and shame. And I think that's something that Me Too movement has really helped a lot of victims get past that embarrassment and shame and be able to hold people accountable, hold abusers, predators accountable.
Right.
Now. But there's still a lot of people who it's just hard to get past that, and I don't blame them. So we don't know who all they were, and even the ones we do know, I'm not naming here in this podcast.
No, of course not.
But some of them have come out on their own. If you look on YouTube, you will find where they detail exactly what happened. And in that Happy Shiny People that we're talking about that's pretty popular right now, there's some victims on there who come out and say exactly what happened.
Right.
It's important to note that they allege sexual harassment and molestation. They're not alleging rape necessarily. Right. And I think that's going to come out in our teachings of kind of why that happened.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that he probably tried to justify what he was doing with his own stuff.
I can see that.
We talk about grooming in cases like this, and that's exactly seems to be what had happened here. There was lots of grooming happening. Again, like I said, they were put in a position, often taught their whole lives, they had to be submissive to this guy. And then he took advantage of that.
Yeah.
So that is what definitely took down his personal ministry, almost destroyed this organization. And that is what may continue to destroy this organization, because while they still exist without him, they're getting a lot of publicity about this now.
Yeah. And
some of the things that led to this are still happening with this organization. Some people would argue, and you can see quite lucid arguments about that the structure, organization, and mainly the teachings of this organization are just going to lead to this sort of problem over and over again. And that's the argument with the Duggars, that the teachings of this organization led to sin when it was supposed to lead to not sin.
Right. Yep.
So anything else to add to that?
Cool. I think that covers that. That was a short one.
Okay. Well, we'll see y'all for one more episode on the history of the IBLP.